My dear brothers and sisters, quite often reading this particular passage of the Transfiguration of the Lord and the Mount, I get reminded of my seminary days when there is a cricket test match going on, and on a Thursday afternoon, when after the lunch there is a free time for the seminarians, and we would ask the rector that if we can watch the cricket match in the TV. And the rector would say, fine, till 3 o'clock you can watch. After that you can take a rest till half an hour, and then we have games. So we were watching the cricket match till 3 o'clock. It was almost that interesting moment where India was almost going to win, and the scores were very close, and therefore the time also came very close, and it was 3 o'clock, and we had to go away from the TV back to our rooms. And as soon as it was 3 o'clock, the prefect of the class said, come on, let's go. He switched off the TV, we all went away. But we few brothers, knowing that everybody went away, wanted to see whether India is winning the match or not. We slowly went back to the recreation hall, put on the TV, and wanted to watch again. And as we were watching, the rector came into the recreation room. And then immediately we put off the TV and we were looking at the rector like that. And the rector said and gave us a big lecture. You have to obey what we say, and then you have to listen, and then it was a long lecture. Anyhow, we all went back to our rooms after hearing the lecture. But I was thinking, why can't I ask the rector and say, it was a very close match, can we watch a little more and finish that match and then go back to our rooms? We didn't have the courage to ask that. We didn't have the courage to ask, to see that victory of India. But we went back. The next day only, in the newspaper, we saw that India won the match. When Peter, James, and John were taken up the mountain, a similar situation, that which Jesus wanted to show them the glory of his Father, the glory of the Son of God, the glory that these little apostles with a little mind as ordinary men had to know. And therefore, when he took them up the mountain, he knew that he is going to show them his real glory, the divine nature of God. They have seen his human nature. They, in a way, understood the human nature, that Jesus can perform miracles, he can really wonderfully talk and inspire people, he can change water into wine, he can multiply bread, he can multiply fish. All this was in their mind, they could understand. But when he was speaking about his death, they were not happy about it. Because you find Mark's Gospel, chapter 9, verse 2 to 10 is the Transfiguration. If you go just one para before this particular passage, that is chapter 8, verses 20 onwards, you will hear that Jesus saying, who do you say that I am? And we all know what Peter said, you are Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus immediately says, my God, the Father in heaven, had revealed this to you to say this. And they are all very happy about it. After that, immediately, Jesus speaks about his death. He says, well, you see, the Son of Man is going to go through such suffering. He is going to be persecuted, he is going to be crucified, he is going to die on the cross, and on the third day rise. And we know just then when Peter said, "You are Christ, the Son of the living God," Jesus entrusted the keys of the kingdom into his hands. And Peter received, in a way, not physically, but spiritually received that keys of the kingdom of heaven, entrusting something very important to Peter. And Peter was so thrilled. But suddenly, Jesus speaks about his death. He was not happy. In the same passage, we see Peter not happy about what he hears from Jesus. Just now, Jesus said, "My Father in heaven revealed this to you, and I entrust the keys into your hands." And now suddenly when he speaks about the death, Peter is not happy about it. Immediately he in a way rebukes Jesus Christ. He rebukes Jesus Christ. "This cannot happen to you. How can this happen to you? Just now you gave me the keys and made me happy, and now you're speaking about your death. What is this? You're giving me something very beautiful, and then afterwards telling me about your death." And then we know that Jesus feels that Peter is now affected to rebuke. And Jesus says to Peter that you are speaking not in divine terms. You are speaking in human terms. Therefore, you are rebuking me. And that is why the next passage is he takes them up the mountain. And there he reveals his real nature, his divine nature. The human nature is over, the divine nature is over. Now, Peter, James, and John should understand the purpose of his human nature and of his divine nature. There is a purpose for Jesus' human nature and the divine nature. What is the purpose of the human nature? Now, on the mountain, we see Elijah and Moses. Therefore, Elijah, who is the greatest of all the prophets, and Moses, who brought in the law from Yahweh. Therefore, we see that when Jesus took them up the mountain, these two beautiful personalities were there in that mountain. And Peter says, "It's so nice, let us make 3 boats." He was not aware what he was speaking. He was in a way, in the human nature speaking, "Let us make both, let us capture all of you here, so it is beautiful." But now Jesus wants to bring that to a better understanding. What is a better understanding? Why did Moses appear there? Why did Prophet Elijah appear? Prophet Elijah appears to bring in the truth of God. The truth of God, confirming that this is the Son of God. Moses, now we know that Jesus is going to depart from this world, which means there's an exodus of Jesus from this world into the heaven, the ascension. And Moses is the one who took the people of Israel from that great moment of 40 years of oppression into the promised land. Therefore, Moses is there to show that the purpose of Jesus' human nature is to show people that he is the Son of God, and he will have to leave and die and then go up to heaven, be seated at the right hand of the Father. Now, therefore, there is this purpose very clear, that the human nature of Jesus Christ is to go through this life, to serve people, and to bring the message of God. The divine nature is now what they see in the mount, the glorified self. And when they see the glorified self, now Jesus, after hearing Peter saying, "Let us make 3 boats," Peter was not understanding what he was talking in a way. But later on he will understand, because it is very clearly said, "Come, let go down the mountain." And he charged them not to say to anyone until the Son of Man is risen from the dead. So till then, they will not understand what is this transfiguration, what is the human nature and the divine nature. It is only after the resurrection they will come to understand the human nature of Christ and the divine nature of Christ. That is the reason why we see that Jesus says, "Come, let's go down the mountain." We can't live in this glory only. We have to go down. And I have to continue to live my human nature still till I die. And therefore they go down. And this is to show that Jesus' purpose of his human nature was to become one like us. And to show his divine nature in the Transfiguration is to show that you and I, who are also having that divine nature in us, can also receive that glory of God. How can we have that divine nature? God created you out of his own image. Remember that. If God has created you out of his own image, the divinity of God is in me. And in me there is the divinity, means in my human nature there is that divinity. If Jesus, the Son of God, the second person, came into this world with that human nature and the divine nature, shows that I in my human nature can serve my people of God. And I in my divine nature can aspire and one day be in heaven. Therefore, Peter, after his ministry, when Jesus said, "Go into the whole world," and then Peter starts his ministry once Jesus is taken up to heaven. In 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 18 very clearly says, "It was he who took us up the mountain, and there the Father in heaven spoke to us, 'This is our beloved, this is my beloved Son, listen to him.' Now I understand what it is about the human nature of Christ and the divine nature of Christ. The liberal part of Jesus is to live with us. The pious part or the divine part is for us to experience Jesus' Godhead. And that is how you and I will also live in this world. That in our human nature, we will live what Jesus has given us, to love God and to love our neighbor. To love our neighbor is to do that service, liberally be good to everyone. The best example I will give you is Dorothy Day. Dorothy Day, an American, how liberal she was. She was there to fight for human rights. She was there in every rally, fighting, screaming, yelling for the rights of the Americans. The same evening, she would be there in the church in a procession, saying the rosary, leading everyone in the rosary. Show very clearly the human nature of how you can be liberal and how you can be pious. We cannot totally be pious and be caught up in heaven and be caught up like Peter. We'll make booths here, we will stay here. Jesus says, no, let's go down the mountain. In other words, we can't remain in divine nature itself. We have human nature in us. Therefore, we come down into our human nature to be one with you, to serve you, to help you out, to have special care and concern for you, just like how Jesus had that care and concern for the poor and the needy. At the same time, not losing the sight of that divinity that he received. That is the glory that you and I will receive one day. Today, my dear friends, the Transfiguration has a lot to teach us. The only thing that you and I will finally understand is the divine purpose of Jesus' human nature and the divine nature. And my purpose, why I am created in this world and why I have to live a holy life, is for me to understand. If I know the purpose of my existence here and my following in Jesus Christ, that will bring us one day into that glory of God. Amen. Let us